Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Black Leather Couch. Today's guest is Kim Dilla. She's the creator of Kylla Custom Rock Wear, which is a clothing line that rock and roll and metal musicians wear, all custom order stuff that she creates herself. She's also been in a bunch of different bands herself, like Kung Fu Dykes, and most recently she was Vulvatron in Gwar. I've met her indirectly over the years through different friends and different people, but this is the first time I've actually got to sit down with her and have a real conversation and kind of learn where she's from and how she got into what she's into and, you know, all the good stuff. So take a watch and enjoy. Okay, so where were you actually from? Like, where were you born?
I am from Princeton, New Jersey. My parents are physicists. And my dad was working on the tokamak fusion reactor at Princeton University.
Nice.
And I was born in Jersey, and then I somehow ended up in Virginia when my dad started working at the Jefferson Labs accelerator down here, and we moved down.
Wow.
Then I went to the University of Virginia and got stuck in Charlottesville.
Stuck in Charlottesville. When did your family move down here? How old were you?
When I was like in grade school, so it was like the early 90s.
So you basically...
I'm from New Jersey, but I've been in Virginia.
Do you consider yourself a Jersey person, or do you consider yourself a Virginian
I'm
person?
a Virginian.
All right. I'm kind of the same way.
Is the camera still
Yeah, it's still going. It's just, it does its thing because I'm recording through here.
Okay.
Yeah. So at least you consider yourself... I did the same thing. I moved from Ohio.
Yeah.
But I spent my formative years there, so for the longest time I was really resistant to saying I'm from here, but now I'm just...
I didn't feel Southern for the longest time.
I still don't, but...
Now I kind of realize I like a lot of things about South. I don't like the racism part, but I do like the food and the attitude about like a lot of things and the metal. The lack of traffic.
But you've been in Charlottesville the whole time since then?
Yeah, I've been in Charlottesville for like 15 years now.
Okay, so when your parents moved down here...
We moved to like the Virginia Beach, Norfolk, like Williamsburg, Norfolk, like 757
Gotcha.
area.
Physicists, huh? Were they surprised at your direction of...
No, we've always liked art. And they put me in like art and music lessons growing up and science.
So they were encouraging of it.
Yeah, and I have a science degree. I've always been into science
computer sciences
too. But I sort of like wanted to find a way to integrate science and art, and I did that through my career in computer graphics.
I was going to say, you seem to have done a pretty good job of that. So
yeah.
Was it like were you like in band or stuff like that in school?
I did musical theater.
Oh, jeez.
I liked acting. I thought I wanted to be an actress at first, and then the school kept having musicals instead of just plays. So I was like, I better learn how to sing. And I had taken piano lessons for like 7 years, so I learned how to play piano. But I liked rock and roll music and like heavy music.
Yeah.
So I never really...
Piano doesn't really fit into that.
I didn't like keyboard stuff that much, so I switched to voice, and then I was in like classical voice lessons for like 5 years. And then
I've heard that before, like classical voice.
Like opera.
Is that really? Okay,
yeah.
So it is that. I thought maybe it's like that's just
we can do like opera or Broadway, or you can do like rock singing lessons now. It's becoming a different, like a little bit more popular.
They're making it more niche.
The techniques apply overall.
Across the board.
It's like, how to breathe, how to form your mouth in ways, how to warm up your instrument, how not to damage your instrument,
Gotcha.
And then I figured out how to sing along to my death metal records in the car. And I
got a young age, or
in like
teenage
years,
Gotcha.
yeah. And then I got in This Means You, which was my first band in Charlottesville that I was in for like 10 years before we all sort of dissipated into other things. And that's the band that we toured with, Bella Morte.
The Andy and Gopal beginnings.
Connection, yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but
Okay.
So what was the band lineage? You started with...
This Means You was my first band.
Okay.
That was the first time I'd ever been in a band. Didn't really know what I was doing. I just sort of...
Was it just vocals?
Yeah, I was the singer.
Yeah.
I've always just been just vocals, though I have done live drums once or twice.
Yeah.
but I like that because I like being a performer and engaging the audience and being out front, not stuck behind like a keyboard or something.
Yeah, trying to use the instrument to convey something. Yeah. I've always found that different people like different things in bands for different reasons. Like, if you like to perform, being stuck behind something makes it very difficult, so people tend to shift what they want to do based on that.
Yeah, I definitely like to perform and engage the audience. That energy exchange is my favorite part.
Yeah.
And then I really like songwriting, too.
Yeah.
So that was neat. I had to sort of figure out what I was doing, you know?
In the first band?
Yeah, because I used to write poetry, and writing poetry is not like writing song lyrics.
Yeah.
Because the first couple songs I wrote were really, like, obscure words and, you know, like, bizarre poetry things.
Yeah.
It's like some of the best songs are very simple, relatable lyrics.
Yeah, and then, you know, then you got to figure out how to make them have a hook.
Yeah, exactly.
Something catchy.
Yeah, and you can't teach yourself to write catchy.
You either have it or you don't.
You can analyze the theory of it, but
some people,
if you overanalyze a theory, I think you make too complicated of a song rather than a 2 or 3 note hook. You know?
Yeah, well, that's kind of how punk was started too. Was I can convey the same emotions with 3 chords.
Exactly.
So, okay, so after that band was what?
Then that band sort of fell apart. Like Nick, who was a guitar player, he joined Arsis and then Arch Enemy, and our drummer Brandon joined Bella Morte, and then we couldn't ever find another drummer as good as, so that we sort of fell apart after that, and some people had kids. Then I had started doing my black metal band called The Winter Lost, which is just a studio project with me and a guy in Canada, and we're signed to Sun and Moon Records in Europe, and we still make albums.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that was nice. It got me through a few years of music, but I missed the live performing because they're in Canada and it's underground black metal, so there's really no outlet for live performance in the States that would warrant us flying that far.
Yeah, right.
But I really like that band.
But it's still something you do too?
Yeah,
Oh,
Winter
cool.
Lost, and then we have a side project called Ossuary Vault, and one's in German and one's in English.
Oh, jeez.
But we still do that. And then Kung Fu Dykes got me in the band down in Virginia Beach. They've been going on for like 20 years.
Before you got there?
Before I got there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, well, I say everybody knows that band, but I know a few people that wouldn't know the name. But
So, Kung Fu Dykes has been going since the early 90s. And then they lost their singer about 5 years ago and got me in the band. And then I've been in the band for about 5 years, and we've been writing songs, and they like to re-record it all the time, so we haven't really put out an album. We have a lot of songs and new recordings of songs.
Gotcha.
And we played a bunch of shows, but they don't want to tour, and they're really selective about what shows they play.
Gotcha.
Because those guys have jobs and families, so.
Gotcha.
I think it's an amazing band. I love when we do actually get to play. We played Barbecue, we played some horror movie fest and things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Wonderland. But
the locals, I mean, and you said they're Virginia Beach based?
Virginia Beach based, yeah. So I drive down for practice, or we have a thing called Jam Link, which we can all practice like in our bedrooms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Low
Like kind of
latency.
like a what do they call that? Like a video, like a video link, like a
Well, yeah,
audio video link.
it's a low latency interface, so you can link up your audio without any latency. Pretty much, you can adjust for that.
Oh, cool.
So you can, it's not hard to stay in time, and then you have like your Skype or PC.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, like Skype. I use this stuff all day, every day, and it starts to just blur into one big technical problem, because that's all I do is fix technical problems. So with that, you went from Kung Fu Dykes to...
Oh, and then Kung Fu Dykes played Corey's Memorial Show and Brocky's Memorial Show, because I was good friends with Brent and with Brocky, and like it seemed natural, and their fans really liked us.
Yeah.
And then after we played Rocky's Memorial Show, Gwar asked me to join the band.
Oh, cool.
So
and then
cool. And then
what was that, like last year?
Yeah, last year, and then Vulvatron came about, and the first show I played was Riot Fest last year, which is crazy because I had we spent most of the time designing and making the costume over the summer, and coming up with the character, and then we had 4 practices, none of which were production rehearsals. So I mean, I'd been doing some wrestling with Richmond Lucha Libre and stuff, so I felt confident in my ability to pace and come up with fight choreography on the fly, but they're just get out there, there's 30,000 people, you know what you're doing.
Where Riot Fest is in
Chicago.
Yeah, that's up. I was gonna say that's in up north.
Yeah.
And what time of year was that?
It was fall. It was freezing.
I was gonna say
and raining, and they're you have to go full ass. Brocky went full ass. So I'm standing butt naked in the truck, nervous, and I have performance anxiety too, which is great for a singer, but a few beers usually kills that. So
yeah.
I'm
so is that I normally one of the things I ask, you've got so many different creative things you did back to back to back to back. Is there anything one story that stands out from any of that that's
well, I guess
one of your favorites?
Business,
well, yeah, I mean,
but for
what
bands?
I'm doing for band stuff, because what I'm doing is I'm going to do the arc of the music, and then I'm going to get the arc of the of the fashion, because they seem like they're two separate things, but they kind of happen simultaneously. So I just want to
getting in Gwar was really cool because I felt like I would never really be in a big time touring band,
yeah,
and you never know what happens. I just kept putting my music out there. At one point, Paul Allender from Cradle of Filth asked me to be in his band, White Empress, and I came up with that name and wrote some songs for him, but it ended up going in a totally different direction than what I had written.
Signed on for.
So they wanted something more symphonic, which is not really my bag. So,
gotcha.
But I was I have a lot of friends in big bands. Maybe I'll just keep putting myself out there, and someday someone will need a singer. So that's what happened. I never expected it to happen because one of my best friends died.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a bittersweet, something terrible happened and something great happened. And even though Gwar didn't work out for me, now I have a legit resume and name, and all these bands keep asking me to do guest stuff. I sang with Corrosion of Conformity and with Faster Pussycat, and then I did I'm doing a thing on the new Children of Bodom album, Plasmatics cover.
Nice.
Alexi Laiho is one of my best friends, and
I'm surprised I was able to even get some time with you to come out here as much as you've been doing.
Oh, whatever. I'm not I don't have a I'm better than you or ego.
No. I just mean time-wise. You seem like you're constantly doing something.
Time is hard, but I happened to be in Richmond tonight, so.
Well, thank you for making the time.
Had a few hours.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to cover a few things more in music, but I think this is going to lead into the clothing business part. Do you have any did you have any major influences that made you want to be in this genre of stuff, or was it
metal or
just metal and the heavy stuff? And I mean,
so I guess I sort of went goth first. I'm not sure, when I was a young teenager.
Didn't we all?
I lost my hair, so that was sort of made me not normal.
How'd you lose your hair?
I have an immune system condition called alopecia areata.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I used to have bright red hair down to my butt, and it was my favorite thing about myself. I was the redhead girl, and yeah. Gingers do have souls.
No, we don't.
Fire crotch for life.
Soulless.
But I lost my hair, and then I was angry about it, and I didn't really fit in. And I went to this school that has very traditional social climate.
Yeah.
And
was that, you mean UVA or?
No, I went to Hampton Roads Academy. That's my high school.
High school,
and
okay.
It's sort of
I was gonna say, I would imagine college would have kind of been.
No, colleges do whatever.
Exactly.
It's not a small social climate. So then I started being angry. I started listening to evil music, and Skinny Puppy and things like that. And I really loved industrial. And then I got into this game of, can you find stuff that's more underground? And then from industrial, the underground industrial scene, I got into underground black metal, which is weird because usually people go through the
other
I
way.
listen to Metallica, and then I listen to so then I got into super underground black metal and tape trading in Norway and all this really crazy live under a bridge elitist stuff. And that was really cool and made me feel part of a scene and home.
Yeah, that's kind of where a lot of people go. Is it's a family that usually accepts regardless of anything you have in your bag of problems.
Well, you see someone wearing a black or like wearing a metal band shirt, it's like instant friend or an instant, something to talk about.
Some sort of like a indirect social structure.
Yeah, and I used to go to shows all over. I would just get in my car and drive wherever, or fly to Europe to big festivals, and I speak a bunch of languages because I had too much education. So I would just talk to people.
How many languages?
5.
Jeez Louise.
And I would just...
I have a tough enough time grasping English.
Sometimes I do too. But I would just talk to people, and everyone treated me like a little sister or something, and I just traveled by myself.
So it was the
metal.
scene itself that was an influence, not anything one in particular?
Yeah, no, not one particular band or one particular person, just the way that the industrial scene and the metal scene made me feel
at home,
part of a gang, sort of like. And,
gotcha. That's cool. I mean, another thing I typically ask people is, was there like a book or an album or a movie that shot you in that direction? But it kind of seems like it was all encompassing.
It was the voracious search for like the most heavy thing I could find, the most heavy evil sound, and then I at some point stopped being so angry and started liking more commercial stuff.
Well, we all have our vices.
Right.
So you're in these bands. The second band you work with, the guy in Canada and everything, you guys get signed and you're making stuff that people are listening to. When did the creating of clothes for people in the scene start working its way in?
That was a totally separate avenue that came about through I always made clothes for myself. Okay. Especially for This Means You, and when I was a goth kid, it was like before Hot Topic, and I really couldn't find clothes that I liked.
Not that anything that comes from Hot Topic is of any quality.
No, but I think that's where kids start now, and it's terrible that and you didn't have the internet where you can order really cool stuff online.
Yeah.
So, maybe once a year I'd go to New York and go to Trash and Vaudeville and buy stuff that on the sale rack because that's all I could afford. But in general...
It costs a lot of money to look that cheap.
Right?
That's always the phrase that stuck with me over the years.
I loved Germany, and there's a store in Berlin called Extra X that I totally loved, or Camden in London.
Yeah.
But, when I would go to those cities, then I'd have to save up $200 and buy one thing, So I just started making things, sewing from thrift stores and from thrift store leather, and that's how I started making my own fashion. And then I became close friends with Joey Jordison from Slipknot because he was also into black metal. I met him through Al Jurgensen from Ministry, who was like, "You guys like the same music, you should talk."
Was that when you were on like a tour or something? Or?
It was like he was playing drums for Ministry, and I was hanging out with them because I was friends with Al and his wife Angie.
Okay.
And he was like, "Yeah, you guys should totally talk." Like,
see my thing up there in the corner?
Oh yeah. Nice. And so we became friends because of Al. And then Joey had a bunch of stuff from Junker Designs in LA, which is awesome. Their stuff's amazing, but it's really expensive.
Yeah.
I think too expensive for people who play music for a living.
Yeah.
But I mean, upper echelon certainly can afford that, but I couldn't. So I sort of looked at how he make that stuff, and I started trying to figure out how to take my own style and use the salvage materials I was already using and piece together into things like that. And that's when I started making my clothes. Then Joey would see my jackets and be like, "Hey, can I wear this on stage with Rob Zombie tonight?" Or "Can I wear this to the Revolver Awards?" or whatever. And he would borrow my jacket. And then one time
You're like, "Stop borrowing my shit, I'll just make you one." Yeah,
so I kept trying to make him one he liked better than mine. And he didn't.
Well, you just had to make yourself a new one.
Yeah, but the cool thing about it was he gave my number to a bunch of other musicians, and they called me, like Rob Flynn from Machinehead and the Trivium guys and stuff, and then they got clothes, and then they wore their clothes, and other people asked them where they got it, and then that's how I got
snowballed
started.
from there. When did that start? What?
That was about 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And then
now your degree, you have multiple degrees, right?
Oh yeah, like I have.
You got a computer. Do you have like a fashion design degree, or is it all?
No, the fashion design is a hobby.
Okay.
But my degree's in art and computer science. And I have this sort of like weird program at UVA where you can like combine interdisciplinary studies.
Oh, that's cool. So there's no formal. It's just the love for it and the desire for it makes it. I guess
Yeah, I don't
this
have
isn't something
formal
you like
training.
go. Yes, I have a degree in fashion design, so now I make these things that I retrofit and salvage from things.
I mean, it's learning how to pattern and learning
Yeah.
how to sew, and
Well, hell, people have been making clothes for.
it's a trade
From the
skill.
beginning, yeah.
It's a trade skill more than a university skill. I mean,
Well, because I also read like where you get some of the stuff from like thrift stores and like military surplus stuff and things like that, because that stuff's more durable.
well, yeah, it's hard. It's run your costs into the ground if you buy like new leather pelts or really nice new denim. Like it's gonna.
And then you spend all the time distressing it to make it look worn.
It's gonna cost $200 or $300 just for the materials for one jacket, and then of course you have to charge like $2,000.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And that just has continued to snowball. Now it's like a full-time thing.
Yeah, now it's a full-time thing. I had a full-time employee the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
We just parted ways, and she started her own clothing company. But she was working for me almost full-time the last
amicably,
like
or no comment.
She amicably, yeah. She just I feel like she wanted to do her own thing a lot more than work under me after a couple years. So I need to. What I really need is a sewing minion.
Well, I did sew these lovely coffin pillows.
Yes.
That's the extent of my. That is the extent of my quality.
See, you have sewn using heavy materials. Like what I find is like people who are
honestly, I don't even remember how I did those. It was so long ago, and I didn't know how to do the stitching on the bottom where you.
Where you close it out.
Yeah, so I just did it like that.
Yeah, it works. No one sees the bottom of the pillow.
I could make a dirty joke right there, but I'm not gonna.
Right.
So with the clothing and everything, it's snowballed because you've got a lot of people asking for it. Where do you draw your inspiration from that stuff for? Or is
I like to watch a lot of movies, so like Mad Max is a big inspiration. I think that shows in my stuff a lot.
Yeah.
And then early rock and roll fashion, Ray Brown, he designed all the stuff for like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Judas Priest back in the day.
The early leather.
Yeah, so I like those that look, but make it look as if they've been wearing it on stage since then.
Yeah.
You know? Or
the distressing and all that
went
stuff.
through a war, yeah. So I'm really into distressed stuff.
Yeah.
When someone wants something that looks brand new, I'll do it, but I hate it.
Now, are you doing anything, like, I know you do the reclaimed and leather, and I read some of it's like, some of it you even weld together and stuff like that. What about like the designs, like skull and crossbones stuff that you put on? Do you silk screen stuff too, or do you?
I have a guy who does this screen printing for me. I don't really like.
So you send him ideas and say, make me this, and I'll piece it together.
Or I have like transfer prints, or I paint things by hand.
Okay.
I try to use licensed T-shirts and stuff, or get people to send me patches because I like to use.
You mean from their own bands, or
like if somebody's like, I want a Ramones back patch, I'd be like,
gotcha.
Let's use a licensed Ramones shirt, so we're not like bootlegging things.
Yeah.
You know? But sometimes they want an old obscure band, you can't find the patches of it, so
gotcha.
Just print
Gotta
something. Yeah.
Make it yourself and go forward. Do you have a waiting list right now, or are you?
Yeah, it's well, the queue usually runs between 1.5 and 2 months or so.
Oh yeah.
So I'll just book. I think most people that do custom orders book it like 8 weeks out. That's what I do, book 6 to 8 weeks out. I do take rush orders because musicians aren't great at like planning ahead.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta be on tour next week.
Yeah, they'd be like, can you get this to me in Norway like in 3 days? I'm like, technically yes. So
it's gonna cost you.
Schedule things out based on. I like to get people to plan ahead, and then of course if we need alterations or changes, because a lot of people can't really.
Well, it's still a business. It's not just making stuff for your rock and roll buddy on the side. It's a full-time job now. So
I think the hardest part for me was learning how to schedule things, because each project's so different and each customer is so different. Like, it's hard to manage exactly how much time each thing's gonna take. I don't work 9 to 5. I'm like a night person, so I'll do these big sweatshop days where I'm sewing like 20 hours and all night, and then
Well, also I would imagine that once you get rolling, you're like, oh my god, this is almost done. I can do this and this and.
Yeah, it's good. I like to get in rhythms, and then it takes me several days to do the prep work where you're like cutting and distressing and patterning and printing patches and things, and then sometimes when you get on a big sewing roll, the machines will break.
Yeah.
So that's always hard to be like, this is gonna take me an hour. Oh, it took me 5 hours because this machine broke.
Gotcha. But it's still rolling. It's good.
It's doing well.
Yeah, that's good.
We're doing some stuff for Satyricon right now. It's a black metal band from Norway.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say I recognize the name, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
But,
And
yeah.
I just met up with King Diamond at Mayhem Fest a few days ago, and they're interested in me designing them a new wardrobe, so that should be pretty cool.
Like the whole band?
Yeah, I hope so.
Sweet.
So.
Always cool. I mean, that's the thing. Networking is, it's not like, well, I mean, people can go on the website and order stuff too, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's really important to me that everyone gets equal treatment, no matter how famous they are. So, I've done stuff for Journey, and I've done stuff for like Bob's local band from Texas, and they all pay the same, and they all get in line.
Yeah, because I noticed that was the other thing too, as you were saying early on that, rock and rollers don't make a lot of money.
Mm-mm.
I mean, them selling their CDs in the back of the club after a show is what gets them gas money sometimes. So,
yeah.
I mean, just knowing enough people that have had to go through that is, that's so, the fact that you're making this stuff affordable and doing it as a labor of love is, yeah.
Well, I want to serve the market of people that I relate to, which are musicians, and so I have a pretty good grasp of the income and needs of those people. And if you make stuff priced at celebrities, that's not musicians. That's, maybe it was at one point, but we don't live in that world anymore.
Yeah, tell me about it. Is there something that you've wanted to do that maybe not related to this, the music or the clothes? Is there anything you've wanted to do that you haven't had a chance to yet, or that you're working toward? Or?
Well, I mean, I would like to tour in another band, like sing for a band, like be a front woman.
Yeah.
I guess if an established band's looking for a new singer, I'd like to do that because I can take the clothing business on the road, which is really what I like to do, is pack my suitcase of supplies and my sewing machine
hit the road.
In the bus or in the van, and find little post offices and laundromats on the way, and and then my goal in the next year is to get a manufactured line off the ground of the clothing business, so it can be more like a real business, and I have some passive income, not just
constantly busting your ass.
Constantly being a seamstress.
Your own sweatshop.
Yeah, I would rather do more of the design and less the actual sewing.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
Well, I was going to ask you too. Do you have like any sort of like T-shirts or something advertising the business, or is it like?
I do. We have an Etsy store with like T-shirts and hoodies. Usually, I just do them custom because having things ready-made, people are always like, "Can you make this, but in a size XXL and with this on it?" And I'm like, "Okay, let me just print one for you."
Yeah, exactly. So. Now, with everybody following you online and stuff like that, and all the followers, and I don't know, are you on Twitter and stuff like that?
Yeah,
too?
I have Twitter is Kylla Custom Wear, and Instagram is Kylla Custom Rock Wear. Facebook, Kylla Custom Rock Wear. Kylla, Kylla.
I'll put all the links on the thing too.
It's my nickname, so I'm Kim Dilla, K, and then the Ylla. But it also means yes in Finnish. So.
Oh, does it really?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes,
well, with all those followers and everybody kind of like being up your ass all the time, online, do you think that hinders or helps?
Oh, it helps. 100. I mean, I would say 10% of my business comes from word of mouth through musicians, like seeing other musicians out there in our gear.
Hey, where'd you get that jacket?
Yeah, where'd you get that? Yeah. And me going to festivals and stuff and networking and handing out my card. And the other 90% comes from social media. So it's really important for me to keep that following. And
keep that up to date.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is another thing that bands back in the day didn't have.
Right. Hit a flyer and send your CD to the local radio station and get street teams.
Is there one piece that you've designed or made that you're the most proud of, like that you stood back and were like, this is my favorite thing ever so far?
It was really cool to see a jacket I made on Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania this year. That was awesome. I made his entrance jacket for WrestleMania, and there's like 100,000 people there, and that was really cool. He's super awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he found me on Google or through some mutual friends, but he just called me, and we've been making his stuff for like all the big WWE events.
Cool. So that's the one you're most proud of?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because you were, what was your title for Lucha? You had some sort of like... Empress something or other?
Well, that was the one time they let me actually wrestle. They had to bring in another girl. But I was like a valet for Susio for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So that was cool. I mean, mainly I was just a trainee for like 6 years, and then they like kept beating me up in a park, and it was really fun. I loved wrestling with them, and I'm not a very good wrestler. I
Well,
managed to get my way through one victorious match.
everyone's got their niche. I'm guessing wrestling is just not yours. I always wrap up all my interviews with a fairly simple question, and that is, do you have a favorite dirty story or something that happened to you or maybe on tour or anything like that that stands out? And it could be, you can cuss all you want, it's on the web, it doesn't matter.
I always tell people about the time that I got roofied, I guess.
Okay.
I guess.
That's your favorite one?
No.
Usually it goes the complete other direction.
The worst. Okay, dirty story. I mean, all those are incriminating. You know, I can't tell them.
Well, you can leave out names to protect the innocent or the guilty.
I
mean, or you can tell the roofie story if it's...
I don't know.
That's
see.
up to you.
Mean, all the cool stuff that happened to me. The roofied story is totally not like The Hangover. I don't know. And then the wildest stories I have are the complete disasters.
Yeah, those are fine too.
To
I had somebody who their story was he was in a band and they picked up a hooker and the hooker had a dick. And they had to figure out how to get her out of the room.
Nice.
So, yeah, it can be good, it can be bad, it doesn't matter. I just like hearing the one that jumps out the most. They're like, oh God, this is like the worst thing that ever happened, or this is the most messed up thing that ever happened.
Oh, yeah.
It can be good or bad.
Try to think. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
I'm
curious now about the roofie story.
Yeah, I'll just tell the roofie story because, like, I can't think of any other one that wouldn't, like, incriminate somebody. So.
Like I said, you can leave names out, but yeah, go ahead with the roofie story. Now you've got me curious.
Yeah, so Kung Fu Dykes played this bar in Winchester, and I always take drinks from fans when I sit at the merch booth after the show. Like, great.
Yeah.
You know, I've never had a problem. Like, usually the music community is generally pretty brother-like.
It's usually the bar owners that are the...
Yeah, I don't know.
In my experience.
I'd had about 2 drinks, like Jaeger bombs nonetheless, but I drink Jaeger bombs on the regular, and I feel like I have a good... I mean, they can mess you up, but after like 10, not 2. And a couple hours later, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I had 2 drinks, and the next drink, I don't remember anything after that.
Oh, jeez.
And I've blacked out...
And it was a fan, fan that brought you?
I've blacked out before, but it's usually like more gradual, and I'll never not remember anything. It'll just be like, I don't remember how I got here or what we said, but I remember generally all that happened, right?
Yeah.
So, I woke. The next thing I know, I'm in the back of our van covered in my own vomit, which I've also never done. I've never thrown up on myself or anywhere not in like a toilet or, you know. And then the next thing I know, they've gotten me a hotel room across the street or something.
The van did?
Yeah, the band did, because I was in...
Because you threw up in the van.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So then I'm so messed up, like, and they just think I'm wasted.
Yeah.
Like, no one believes me that someone has drugged my drink.
Yeah.
And I'm with a new boyfriend at the time, and he just thinks I absolutely cannot handle my liquor or something.
I had to.
And it's so frustrating trying to explain to someone when they try to tell you you're drunk, and you're like, no, like, this is not normal. Like, someone has drugged me. Like,
I feel way more altered than I should.
Yeah, like, I can't control myself. And so, like, all I wanted to do was take a shower because I was covered in our makeup and my vomit. And I go in the bathroom shower, and I'm trying to turn it on and get it to be hot. And I can't figure out how to make the water be hot. Now, in my defense as roofied self, like, it's one of those faucets where, like, someone has reversed the hot cold direction. So had I been sober or at least drunk and not roofied, I would have figured out, try turning it the other direction and see
it just keeps getting colder.
Yeah, so then I'm just like, fuck it, like, take a freezing cold shower, and it took me like 10 minutes to get all the stuff off me, and by then I'm like exasperated and screaming and just like shaking. And then in the meantime, our drummer has also gotten roofied because it was a round of drinks. And the reason I know I got roofied is my other bartender friend who had come to see our show, who was hanging out with me at the merch booth. Mm-hmm. He got woken up on the side of the highway by like the state police, and they said that he had Ritalin in his system or whatever. Geez. Yeah. And then our drummer, in the meantime, I'm like freaking out about the shower, is running up and down the hallway of the hotel naked, knocking on doors at 4 a.m.
Jesus.
So yeah. You got the total train wreck award.
Good Lord. And they were never invited back.
Yeah. I don't think we have any, like, good hooker stories or anything like that.
Well, that's pretty messed up, though. I mean, you hear, people have stories from being on tour and stuff like that, but it's rare to hear, and maybe it sounds biased, but it's rare to hear our corner of the music world, the metal and the...
Yeah.
Most of those guys look out for each other.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that place is sort of up towards West Virginia and stuff, and there's some unsavory types that come there. But usually, I mean, most.
Well, there's always a bad seed in the group, but that's shitty.
It's rare.
It is very rare.
I'm only taking drinks that are like in bottles or something from now on, like no mixed drinks. And then,
unless you go with to the bar.
Yeah, exactly. I'm much more cautious with that.
I would imagine. Hell.
And then, I mean, the worst part was like, to this day, no one believes me that.
Well, if the other dude had Rufalin in his system, I'm pretty sure that narrows it down for you.
Yeah, well, tell that to my band and my ex-boyfriend.
Well, thanks for coming.
Sure.
I hope you have continued success with the clothing and everything.
Thank you.
I love seeing this stuff because, I saw working where I'm at now and seeing different bands coming through. There's always tons of cool clothes, and I'm always going to be like, hey, who made that for you now? Like, I'm going to totally be.
Cool.
So, but yeah, thanks for coming.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me.